Hey there, AMC Turn fans. Welcome to another episode of the AMC Turn After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV. Tonight we are talking about Season 4, Episode 9, Reckoning. Guys, there's a lot of awesome stuff to talk about tonight, and we have a very special guest calling in. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I feel like this is the most appropriate episode we could have come in with this song.
Well, and you know me, if we can fit a Hamilton song in here, I will 100% do it because I am that human being. And what better than Yorktown?
It had to be Yorktown.
Oh, it had
to be Yorktown this time around. Well,
so happy.
Oh, so good. So excited that the show is coming to LA. But anyway, hey guys, we're here to talk about Turn tonight. We are talking about Season 4, Episode 9, Reckoning. Let's not waste any time. I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's ThemenGuin. And to my left is the lovely Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies. You can follow me all over the social medias at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet.
And for those of you guys watching live, we'll have you up on the live chat in a minute. And we are also going to be keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTVTurn. And joining us via Skype tonight is the wonderful LaToya Morgan. How are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
Doing well, thank
Stoked.
you. For those of you guys who don't know, LaToya does like
everything?
A gazillion things behind the scene. She's an executive story editor, the co-executive producer of the show, and the writer of this episode. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, LaToya.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Like I said before, I'm ready for some Ranger danger.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And again, it's such a pleasure, too, actually getting to talk to you because you've been a friend of the show for a long time. So it's nice to finally hear your voice.
I know. I follow you guys on Twitter. I watch your really wonderful recaps of the show. I love seeing you guys argue about what you think is going to come next. It's a lot of fun.
That must be hilarious.
You just eat popcorn during our prediction section.
Those fools have no idea.
I kind of do. And I'm like, wow, maybe we should have thought of that. You guys come up with some good stuff.
Well, good. Like nothing we have come up with, I think, really prepared us for this episode. Which,
oh my God,
was seeing the culmination of a lot of different plot lines, and I wanted to know, sort of. I've asked this of basically all of our guests so far this season. Is basically this is Season 4. It's the final season. What were your guys' feelings, kind of going into it from the beginning, since you knew this was going to be Endgame?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I know my boss, the showrunner of the show, Craig Silverstein, really wanted to make sure that we ended the season by wrapping up all of our loose ends. So we were very excited that AMC was giving us this fourth and final season so we could end everything on our own terms. And for us, it was about how can we show the Spy Ring be as effective as possible and also take us through the end of the war. And that was a huge challenge because there's so many years to cover, and then you have so many characters, and you want to make it emotionally resonant. So it was a tall challenge in the writer's room, but I think we rose to the occasion.
was there anything that you wanted to cover or address that just didn't make it into the episode that wound up in an old draft or on the cutting room floor?
In this particular episode?
In general, but yeah.
Well, in episode 9, there's a scene that I love that it broke my heart that we had to cut. There's a scene between Washington and Martha Washington, actually.
Oh, no!
Where I know, I definitely wanted to have Martha Washington in my episode. Lily Birdsall is an amazing actress. The scene was incredible. It was really about Washington grappling with what happened with him and Ben in episode 8. So he was still sort of, really upset about what happened, and he's been getting it from all sides, right? Everyone's telling him he's not making the right decision, but he really wants to go to New York. And so Lily Birdsall and Martha Washington kind of pushes him over the edge. And it was the scene that was right before he goes down and talks to all his generals. So it was just a great scene. Ian was phenomenal in it. But for time, this was such a big episode, we had to cut it.
Well, that's unfortunate because they have such great chemistry together too.
They do.
They always knock it out of the park whenever they have a scene together. So that's a bummer, but again, cut for time. It's kind of amazing this episode was as jam-packed as it was with everything.
Yeah, I mean, normally we have 8-day shoots, and this episode was a 9-day shoot just so that we could cover all that needed to be the siege at Yorktown. And so my director, Eagleson, was phenomenal. I always joke and say we made a little movie because our entire team was so on it. I mean, we had our special effects team, we had our brilliant stunt guys, we had all our wonderful actors, and they were all in every day. I mean, it was hot. One of those days, it was ridiculously hot while we were shooting. Everybody's like making sure that they have water while they're running through these explosions, and it was craziness. But it looked so incredible on screen.
Yeah, it looked phenomenal. We talked about this a little bit last week. The show, because there's more of a focus on the espionage aspect of things, doesn't do a whole lot of battles. And seeing all of the members of the Culper Ring on the front lines is kind of amazing.
It really is. And then even just seeing Mary in the medical tent as well. Like, yep.
Okay, yeah, can we talk for a minute about how Mary is kind of the MVP of this episode and may very well be the MVP of this series?
She's been the MVP of the last 2 seasons, at least. At least.
She kind of has been. She's pretty badass, I gotta say.
She is glorious.
Now,
I mean,
go ahead.
She's brilliant. Beacon is so wonderful too. She's so sweet. And then we ask her to do all these crazy things like shoot Simcoe in the ear, and she's like, "Yes, I can do that."
Absolutely.
The origin of Ranger Danger.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure literally anybody in the cast would have signed up to do that.
That is true. There's a line, a very long line.
But she got to jump to the front, which is really great. But in this episode, too, we see a lot of her journey sort of come full circle, too. I loved in this season the dynamic that she had with Ann Bates. That was such an interesting relationship, especially given the fact that you can actually tell she does kind of care about Ann and empathizes with her plight, but cares about Abe a lot more. What was the idea behind bringing Ann Bates into the fray this season?
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do, especially in the last 2 seasons, is to really highlight a part of the war that a lot of people don't talk about a lot, and that's the camp followers. And so Washington was sort of he didn't like the camp followers, but he sort of tolerated them because they kept the men in line a little bit. And they actually were very useful. You know, they did all the laundry, they helped with the sewing of the uniforms, they cooked. So they were really, really useful to the Army as well. And so we knew that once we were going to bring Anna over, after she completely torches everything in Setauket, that we were going to be able to expand that too once Abe pretty much torches everything Setauket too, and Mary has to come and join the fray. So we wanted to not just have it be a part of the background, we really wanted to have it be active. And so Ann Bates was a perfect opportunity. She was a real-life person from history that we found in some of our research. And we thought that it would be kind of interesting to see Mary. She's sort of been the person who helped clean up Abe's mess after the fact.
Yep.
But we thought it would be interesting to show her have to think on her feet and actually give her a taste of what it's like to be a spy. And so she's not that good at it. She sort of tips her hand a little bit, but she ends up forging this relationship with this woman that becomes very useful to the war effort.
Yeah, because it gave him a direct line to Cornwallis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
To General Clinton, To Jenna Clinton, yeah.
Oh, I'm good with names.
You're thinking a little ahead.
I am. I'm just.
But I did also love that scene where she gets reunited with her husband.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting thing because you get to see all of these pieces being set up, ultimately leading to Yorktown. And it's a fun ride kind of getting there. And so that was a nice moment where they get reunited, even though you kind of know that kind of disasters later on down the way. But it was also paralleled with Mary getting reunited with Abe.
Yes.
These people that they're putting their lives out on the line for their husbands and their families. And so it was really nice seeing that and having Mary remind Abe, you are my cause. And we've come too far to go back now.
Can I tell you a secret? That's kind of like one of my favorite scenes that I've done for the show.
Oh.
It's very rare to have all of the Culper Ring together, and I love Abe being reunited with Mary, and then all four of our guys, our ring, they're there. It's just a beautiful moment. Even on the set, we had our set photographer come take a picture because this is the big moment before the big battle happens, and it was a great moment. I loved it.
Would you say that's been your favorite scene to write so far this season?
Oh, wow. No, my favorite scene to write was the Abigail and Peggy stuff.
Yes!
I really loved writing all of that. And so, that one was really sentimental because even from the early stages of season 1, like when we had the Battle of Setauket, when they were all in the cellar downstairs at the tavern, that was one of the rare times that they're all together. They're all in they're scattered to the four winds doing their thing. And so moments like that, I just try to cherish them because they don't happen that often in the show.
No, they really don't. Moments of happiness are pretty fleeting during wartime. But yeah, let's talk about Abigail and Peggy a little bit for this episode, because something I've been feeling a lot of anxiety about up until this moment is Peggy finding out the extent of Abigail's involvement with the Culper Ring and the fact that John Andre is dead in no small part thanks to her.
Well, and she was so good at just drawing the line and not letting anything slip. And then when Peggy's just feeling terrible, no, he really loved you. How did you know that?
He really loved you. It was saying, like, you were more important to him than turning Arnold ever was. And that's just, Ksenia just gave this wonderful little, very, almost imperceptible kind of quizzical look.
Wait a minute.
That doesn't sound right.
And then she gets a minute to stew over it because Akinbode's at the door.
Oh.
Look, that was on my bucket list for the show of things that needed to come out, was this Abigail not slipping and telling this, but that Peggy should find out that Abigail was right under her nose doing all this spying and she didn't even know.
Yeah.
And that was the reason that John Andre, the love of her life, is no longer with us.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be juicy and it would be a great contrast to all of the big battle stuff that was happening on the other side of the episode. And Ksenia and Idara are absolutely brilliant actresses. And so anything I've ever asked them to do in scenes, they've been incredible. And so for them to have this crazy drama and then Peggy's giving birth and everything's going to hell, they were fantastic. And I love them.
No.
Well, Everything Goes to Hell, the episode, is always fun to watch. And that's pretty much what this was. We've had build-up for 3.5 seasons and just seeing payoff after payoff after payoff and being like, yes! I think the one where I just kind of started yelling and being happy about things was, oh, well, signal the ships. It's like, oh, the signal book! The signal book! I was yelling things at Megan while we were watching this, like, oh, signals!
Yes, I love that signal book. And by the way, so for 3 years that my beloved Nick Westray has been on the show, I've been dying to get him in my episode, and I have not had him or Townsend in my episodes ever. But he was there in spirit because of the signal book, so that was fantastic.
Yeah, we have Heather Smith in chat lamenting the fact that there was no Culper Jr. in this episode. But
I feel like his story has wrapped, though. Like, this was his big magnum opus, his big thing, and then it's like, Culper Jr. out.
Townsend's got to go.
Yep.
We have a question from Turnland in the chat. Was there ever any consideration or a wish list to have Andre return in a flashback or a dream? Which is an interesting question, given that this episode does start off with a nightmare sequence.
We always relish the opportunity to have J.J. Field come back. He's amazing. But for this particular episode, there was no way. We were already like, oh my God, there were so many people in this episode that we would have loved to have him, but where would we fit him in? I do see the point about the nightmare, though. But this was about Peggy's worst nightmare, and I think Andre would be a dream come true, you know?
That's true. It would be a good dream if Andre was in it.
You wake up crying for a different reason.
And it would possibly be X-rated, so that
Yes.
I could make a joke.
Turn after dark.
I could make a joke. I'll refrain.
Turn after dark.
But talking about that, I just love the parallels that we get in terms of Abigail's storyline, because one of the most heart-wrenching moments of the entire series is when Andre tells her, this isn't your fault. And then we have this moment with Peggy where she's throwing it in her face and saying, it is your fault. And so that was talking about payoff after payoff after payoff. Having Peggy say, it actually wasn't your fault, was probably one of the best bits of payoff in terms of character arcs, I think, that we've seen.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think, you know, when I watched that scene with Abigail and Andre, I could just feel her guilt and her pain. And I know that she never wanted any of this to happen to him, but it did. And she's been living with that, and Peggy has to have someone to blame it on. But at the end of the day, Abigail being there in her house helped save not only her life, but her baby's life. And so it all has its own path, you know.
Yeah,
Fate and Providence, you know, play a part.
And it's great, too, because it's a good way for Abigail to sort of work out what she's feeling, too, because at the moment she feels incapable of helping her son. So it's nice that she's able to help Peggy and her son instead. But can we talk for a real quick moment about how adorable that scene with Akinbode was? Because, oh my God, they are so cute together. We've been waiting
so
3
beautiful
years.
and blindingly gorgeous. It's like, I loved every second of them on screen.
They were great. I think my favorite bit was just her going, I know. And he's like, stop that. You stop it with that. But yeah.
I mean, I think my favorite part of that is just some of the silence. You know, first of all, I needed that kiss. I needed that kiss so much.
Well, how long has it been? 3 years since the last time they kissed? In terms of, like, how long we've been waiting as an audience?
Yeah, it's been a while. Oh my God, it's been way too long. And so when they actually finally did kiss, I loved it. And then I just loved the way they just kind of lingered together for a moment. That was great. And then the kiss of goodbye. Oh my God, come on! It was beautiful. That was on one of the last nights we were shooting, and it was just great to see those guys together again. It was a real challenge to get all this back because he's so talented and he's got all these different shows that he's working on, and so it took a lot of schedule juggling to get him back. But I'm so happy that he did it, and it was for my episode. Yay!
I could just see dibs.
Exactly.
I was, for the longest time, I thought he was never coming back to the show, and then one of the first shots of season 4 is him returning to New York, and it was like, yes! This is amazing.
Look, it wasn't because we didn't want him to come back. Trust me.
It's all scheduling for sure.
He's a busy human being.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I want to switch gears a little bit because one of the most consistently interesting things that we've talked about on this show in terms of character and kind of surprising things, especially in this episode, is we get Hewlett during when he and Clinton are in that scene with Anne and her husband. And just having this moment where they get this bit where, oh, this information was provided by Mary Woodhull. You can just almost hear, like, the desire to slap his face and go, really? Just facepalm?
But I can't just say that I knew, because then they'll know that I knew, and they'll know that I've known for a while, and then it's my head, and...
It is fun because he's clearly in it for himself at this point, but at the same time, it's not like he wants to lose the war. But what's really interesting is when he finds out what's befallen Simcoe and makes a beeline to get his revenge.
Oh, yeah.
This was one of the most interesting bits in the entire season, because Hewlett trying to get retribution, that's not really a character trait that we would have seen several seasons ago. But after everything that he's gone through, like him...
He is 8,000% done with literally everything in his life right now.
Yeah.
And this is just loose
to
ends.
the point of, like, being willing to stab a man who has no means of defending himself.
Yeah, but would Simcoe have done any less to him?
Hewlett has been through the ringer. He's just been through it.
Yeah, he's been through quite a bit, but at the same time, what we get ends up being very consistent with his character. Because what is surprising, though, is when Simcoe basically gets told, get your affairs in order, he does something that I think surprises everybody, which is call the Queen's Rangers over and basically tell them, hey, guys, you need to go or you're going to all be executed. And
like, our position is indefensible. They're basically leaving us here, so... Go back to where you came from and tell them, hey, you know, I was conscripted, I was captured, they made me do the thing, I want to come back so y'all can live.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pivotal moment for Simcoe. One of the challenges that we faced for the past 4 seasons is how to humanize our best villain, right? So this was one of the few moments where there's another scene earlier in the season, written by my friend Mike Taylor, or actually is written by Alex Rose, the Lola scene, where you get to see a little different side of Simcoe. And so we wanted to be able to show that, yes, he does care about something, and one of those things is his men. Yes, sometimes he puts them up as cannon fodder and uses them to block explosions, but he also didn't want them to get captured. You can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah,
so
it would have been
Simcoe,
so...
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it would have been so easy for them to just simply be his lackeys. But there's real loyalty there on both sides.
Yes, and to be fair, I know that sometimes people, raise questions about, the way we've been portraying Simcoe in our story versus what he's known for historically. And one of the things that we tried to be true to for him historically is that he really did, when he took over Rogers Rangers, he really did transform them into a more lethal fighting force. He gave them the discipline that the Royal Army had instilled in him. And so I love the idea of making Simcoe not just a good fighter, but putting that into his fellow soldiers and having him be loyal to them and them be loyal to him.
Yeah. We just as kind of an aside from the live chat, we have Josh Price joining us in the live chat, who says hi. Hey, Josh.
He wrote, sorry to interrupt, but hey, LaToya, so much love to you. I rushed home to catch this tonight. Megan and Katie, you two are wonderful too.
Aww.
I love Josh. I tried to have him in my episode too, and then I had to cut that too.
Oh no!
Aw.
I feel like you
Wonderful.
had a full feature-length episode on your hand. Like we had a full movie's worth of episode, and I would like to see the director's cut, as would half of chat at this point.
For sure. Give me the hour and a half, 2-hour version of this episode. I'm definitely down.
Absolutely. I will make popcorn.
I know. If only we had 60 minutes an episode
Oh.
instead of 42.
That would be
Yeah.
that would be so great.
Oh my God, it would be amazing.
We have a couple of people in the live chat who are hoping for some deleted scenes.
And a blooper reel someone was asking for, which,
Oh,
yes,
for sure.
please. Will any of
You
this
know,
be
we
included?
do have a blooper reel, but does it? I don't know if it's external. We see it internally, usually at the rap party, and it's pretty good, I gotta say.
We keep hearing these legendary stories about how good it is, so we hope it gets released on the Blu-ray. Josh
I
also
can tell you
says,
about. Okay, tell me what Josh says, and I'll tell you about a blooper from this episode.
hand
Ooh.
to heart when LaToya says "Hey," which is true.
Oh my gosh, I love him. He's the best.
He is. So tell us about this fun blooper.
Yes, please.
Okay, so everyone knows the scene where Abe goes and he goes in the tent with Ben. Caleb's with him. He's just come back, and he sort of, lists off all these things that he's seen while he was with the American Legion.
Mm-hmm.
And so in one of the takes that Jamie did, he lists off all this stuff. He's listing like rice and grain and beef and pork, like all this stuff. and then he basically says, the secret is, he's making beef bourguignon. And so that's he just like totally like lists out his stuff like as if it's a recipe. And the entire crew like cracks up laughing. It was the best. It was so good.
See, I was expecting that to go in a partridge in a pear tree direction, but no, that's better.
Yeah, he's pretty funny, that guy.
Speaking of, do you have a favorite behind-the-scenes moment from this season?
Oh wow.
I know that's tough to choose.
Good one. Oh my God. Well, for this particular episode, behind the scenes was a lot of fun, and I never worked with a director that, like Eagle, who plays music between takes. And so we would be rocking out to, like when we were filming the big Battle of Yorktown during the day, we were like jamming Jimi Hendrix. Like I felt like I was in Apocalypse Now. It was just crazy.
All along the watchtower during war.
Yes. So I felt like that's probably one of my favorite behind-the-scene moments.
That's pretty awesome.
Speaking of, logistically speaking, it's no small feat trying to recreate the Battle of Yorktown. That must have, I don't want to say, did you guys think you could do it? Because of course you did. You guys, this cast and crew works incredibly hard. But, what was the mentality going into that in terms of being able to
What
capture
went
the
into
scope?
planning that?
Yes.
A lot went into planning that.
A lot of late nights, I imagine.
Yeah, and a lot of it because we built those readouts. So all that you see, we built them. Those cannons are actually there. Those entrenchments were dug. So all of that. And so we built 2 really huge ones. And so shout out to our production design team and all our construction workers and all our pyrotechnics people who pulled that off. I mean, there were lots of meetings, lots of discussions about how to get that done, because a lot of what Eagle wanted to do was really put the camera down into the trenches. So there's a great shot that our DP, Bill Wade, just got of Jamie running with this basket, and it's all this stuff is exploding behind him. And he's in the trench. I literally wrote in the script, trench cam follows Jamie as the readout explodes, and that's what they gave me. They are that good. Best crew in the business. I can't say enough about them.
Nice.
Yeah, and I feel like I say it to the point of being redundant, but the cinematography in this show is out of this world.
Oh my God,
I cannot say it enough.
Yes.
We have a question from the live chat from Arendelle06. How was your view of the war and history changed since you started writing for the show?
That's a great question. I think the thing that I didn't know from the start was how important the Culper Ring was to us winning the war. I mean, I know Washington, or I knew Washington as, the guy on my money, and obviously, the first president, but I didn't know that he was a spy master, and that he, in addition to being this great general and soldier, was such a great spy, and he was great at espionage. And so he built this whole backdoor group, this ring of people who brought him really important information that helped us win the war. And we just tried in every script, every season, to really reflect that and show how conflicted they were. Because one of the things that people don't know is like Richard, you could be in the same family, and some people were for the British crown and some people were against it within the same family. And so it was very hard for, Abe and Mary and Anna, all of our Culper Ring. We wanted to really show them grappling with that emotional complexity. And hopefully we achieved some of that.
Putting the
In spades.
Yes. Putting the humanity back in history, because because we've talked about this before too. When history is presented to you when you're in school, it's presented in a very matter-of-fact way. It's
This happened and then this happened. It's like writing football plays or something. You move X over here and then you move O over here, and this is a thing that occurred, and on this day at this time these people won this battle. You're like, okay, put it in a spreadsheet and I'll memorize it.
Mm-hmm.
But
exactly. And one of the things that Craig wrote on the wall that on season 1, when we were thinking about breaking the story, was this is not a documentary. That was number 1 on our list. We wanted to entertain people. We wanted to really get under the war, into the shadows of where a lot of this espionage took place. And we wanted to bring the audience down in there with us. And so I think we did.
And
oh, absolutely.
It's a story I feel like doesn't get told in, the most focus on the Revolutionary War focuses on the big battles, the Battle of Yorktown, the alliance with, the Patriot style stuff. Like, I don't think I've ever seen another piece of media try to tackle what it meant to be a spy during this time. So it's been a fascinating
There's not
ride.
a lot.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. And I think that's part of what makes this show so exciting. Like, we know the facts, we know who's going to win. History has spoiled the ending of the war story in here for us, but it's all of the human stories. It's getting really in with the Culper Ring and going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Akimbode went to go get Cicero. We don't know if they get out or not. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yes, because obviously you can go look at Wikipedia and see, Saratoga happened on this day and Yorktown happened on that day. But when you're really invested in the characters, and one of the things we wanted to do was have you being invested not just in the Patriots, but also in the British characters as well, like Hewlett, Andre, humanize them as well, and see that there was a lot of blood and a lot of heart invested into this war on both sides. And we turned out the winners, but it wasn't without a lot of sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Hewlett, I think we need to talk about the other end of his story. We touched on Simcoe, but we haven't talked about what Hewlett did.
Yes. With talking about Hewlett and humanizing these characters and making us care about them and then breaking our hearts with their storylines and everything like that. It's great to see also to have one character when he has the opportunity to react in violence and sort like to go the route of mercy instead. And again, I love that was so consistent with who he is as a person, that he just sort of makes this realization of like the world is changing. Our feud is with the old world. It needs to die, just like the British Empire is falling, I suppose.
Well, and Hewlett and Simcoe have two very, very different views on life. Like, Simcoe is very much in the trenches, kill or be killed, and he's had that since he was a kid and saw his father get slaughtered, and all sorts of other fun things that have gone into the making of Simcoe. But Hewlett has always been an intellectual. And so he's able, for one, to get out of the kill or be killed mindset that being around Simcoe and being tortured by Simcoe kind of put him into. And to see, okay, things are changing, things are going this way. If I do this, what does that make me? What does that do for history? How does that change things? And it's probably more torture for Simcoe to be on this ship knowing that there's someone with the upper hand who just isn't gonna do anything about it. Like, sit there with that apple in your mouth and suffer.
Yeah, that's true. An apple for Bucephalus. Yes. That's what we call it. I think there was an interesting, parallel between what Abe had to do in the last episode in 8 and what Hewlett does in 9. There's something bigger. So Abe is making this sacrifice and not indulging himself in killing Simcoe to get the information to Washington. And here Hewlett knows that if he does kill Simcoe, he may travel down a road that he does not want to travel down. And so he decides to teach him a lesson instead. It's a pretty fun scene. Sam and Byrne were fantastic in it. They giggled a lot at first when Hewlett had to keep putting the apple in Sam's mouth. But once they got down to it, it was really riveting.
Yeah, it was definitely an intense moment, to say the least. And again, the performance from both of them was absolutely top notch.
Oh my God, yes.
I did feel bad for Sam because I just in terms of like how often the apple had to get shoved into his face. I was like, this was probably a 14-hour day, and this probably took forever. That couldn't have been fun.
There were like at least a basket of like 12 apples that were just being bitten like one after the other. It was funny.
The whole thing was just beautiful. And the fake out with the, oh, it's poisoned. Lol, JK. We're going to talk.
Yeah.
We're going to talk.
Another good, interesting behind the scenes thing about that is that, Hewlett has such love for this horse. And in real life, Byrne is actually allergic to horses, which is funny. And so when we started coming up with all this stuff with Byrne and the horse, we were like, oh yeah, wait, Byrne's allergic. He's like, no, it's totally fine. He wanted to do the scene. He was a total champ. But it's so funny that so much of it, Hewlett's revenge is about Bucephalus and him being, well, he also stabbed him too. But,
yeah.
Kill him. But you get what I'm saying.
There was a lot that went into it.
He stabbed him, but he also killed his horse, man.
Yeah.
The horse was innocent.
He killed Bucephalus. That we cannot let that stand.
No.
Well, the horse was innocent. The second you go after someone's pet, someone's animal, that's not it.
Nope, that's not cool.
Oh yeah.
We have a few people in the chat that were using the hashtag
Justice for Bucephalus.
That's great. It's so true.
I just loved what he had to say about the taste of mercy is bittersweet.
Oh yeah. It's true. Yeah. And I love when he stuck the apple in his mouth afterwards. Simcoe's kind of like crying, and then you transition into baby Edward.
Well, it's closing a chapter on one book and opening another.
Yeah, it's good.
I like too that you pointed this out, that it's probably in some ways crueler to leave him alive, and
knowing that he's been bested by a tiny nerd. Oh, absolutely.
Several nerds.
Multiple nerds. Do not get on the wrong side of multiple nerds with a common goal.
Yes. You can outsmart the bully.
Exactly. But yeah, we were having Dan say that during that moment between him and Abe, when Abe is considering pulling the trigger, he interpreted that moment as like saying, yes, just finish me off, give me a warrior's end, and Abe just turning and running away. So it'll be interesting to see how Simcoe reacts to sort of having to be on the mend while the war is coming to an end.
I think I saw the show when Dan said that, and I think that was absolutely right. Simcoe would always rather die as a warrior on the field. That is to go out and blaze the glory rather than sit on this boat full of other sick people and just rot.
Yeah.
You know, that's his hell, you know.
Dying an old man in his bed probably is not on the list of ways he wishes to go, for sure.
Well,
Right.
he's in his hell, and someone with means and motive to remove him from it is just kind of like popcorn.gif at his misery. Can't blame him.
And sadly, because the show is coming to an end, we do have a lot of people who aren't quite ready to say goodbye to all of these characters. So one of the questions we have in chat is that if you could see a spin-off with any one of these sets of characters, who would you want to see a spin-off of?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. You know, there's a couple of characters. You know, there's, you know, the Simcoe Chronicles up in Canada. You know, what is he doing there?
Just seeing him try to become an accomplished poet.
Yeah, I mean, there's Washington. You know, how does he become the president? You know, what's the, you know, the moves to that? You know, what is it like when he first governs? I think that's something that Ian Kahn has said he's interested in.
I think last week we decided that we wanted Robert Rogers on a ship
Absolutely.
with Philomena
You know what?
putting on shows.
Yes, I remember this. That would actually be pretty epic because, you know, Philomena is an actress, so he could write a killer role for her. They could go on the cruise ship, like you said, and they could just play different ports, you know, across the ocean. It would be great.
They just
I'd be down. I would watch that TV program.
sail off into the sunset.
Yes. Anytime, you know, I love Amy, so anytime there's more of her on screen, I'm happy.
Absolutely. As far as this episode goes, I mean, we've touched on it a little bit, but like something we haven't really talked about a ton is actually Ben this season, because he's been this guy who's caught up in the middle of things, and he's constantly trying to juggle a lot of different personalities and logistics around, and
He's basically been juggling flaming knives.
yeah,
Like, that has been his life.
Yes.
it's been his life for the last several years. But something one detail that I've really liked that you guys have sort of snuck in there here and there is everybody commenting on how, like, oh, you don't actually know what love is, and like, oh, you don't have experience with that. Oh, you don't have a girlfriend.
I want to know what love is. I want you to show me.
I just really love that bit of subtext and that bit of acting from him. Every time somebody brings it up, you can just tell he's pulling up the memory of, you know, the girl who ended up dying at their camp, who got murdered.
I know, Sarah.
Yeah, it's really tough. So I always appreciate when you guys throw those little details in there, and his acting has just been fantastic.
Hashtag forever alone.
No.
Not true. That's funny. The great thing about that scene is that, you know, no one ever really teases Ben, you know, so it was great to see Heather really, you know, rib him and him sort of be uncomfortable, but she doesn't really know about, like, Sarah, and so there was like so many little layers that they both played, and they are such phenomenal actors. They're just great, and so just to see a different shade, you know, we didn't want everything that, since it was such a big episode and there was so much battle, wanted to throw something in there that was a little playful and sweet in the middle of all the explosions.
He's like, words hurt, Anna.
Shrapnel hurts worse.
Ooh. Yeah, shout out, you were talking about the pyrotechnic department. They knocked it out of the park, but also shout out to the makeup department.
Yeah.
Because holy hell, did they kill it in this episode.
Nearly killed him, too.
Yes. Yes, that's true. And you know what? They, like, when you see a scene like one of those tent scenes, everyone is completely made up. I mean, they do a phenomenal job with these injuries, these cuts, these wounds. Like, Abe's wound was amazing. You know, then Megan was sewing up. They did such a wonderful job, and they definitely deserve a hat tip, a shout out, a high five, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Like, there was more than one occasion where we cut to somebody in the medical tent, and I cringed. I was just like, very viscerally, I'm like, ah.
Oh, it's the med tent. I should put my dinner down.
Ugh.
Not right
there's this
now.
one guy whose leg is getting like cinched up when Thomas goes and tugs on Mary's apron string, and it just looked just gruesome. It was awesome. I was like, yes.
Well,
That's
just
war,
that little,
baby.
Yeah.
that little bit of Dad's here. No, he's not. He's out at the. Oh no! Just that moment.
Great.
It was a great, great moment of just, oh, everything clicked and it's bad.
Yes, and I have to say the twins, Cabell and Ellis, were phenomenal. They were really great. There was one of Ellis was so scared with all the screaming, and so when you see him in the shots where he's like putting his shoulder to his ear, he really was scared. His mom talked to him, and Jamie talked to him, and they were like, "You don't have to do it if you don't want to," but he said he wanted to do it, and he was so sweet. But yeah, and then right after the scene, it was over. They high-fived, and he was great. But they were wonderful in the scene. It added a really lovely texture to it.
Yeah, we just had somebody ask how they were able to handle all the gore, and yeah, it sounds great that they were able to kind of power through, because when you're a kid, I mean, it's very convincing as an adult looking at it. You have to remind yourself, oh, it's just makeup. But as a kid, you don't necessarily have a concept for that. So that's very sweet that they were able to power through.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and Jamie and Megan really, they're great with them. So they'll talk to them before he says, "I'm screaming, but there's nothing wrong with me. It's acting." And he totally gets it. And he gets this, and he's wonderful.
He gets that it's just all pretend.
It's like Halloween screaming.
Exactly.
Oh, those cuties. Well, we are running a little short on time. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out to the chat. If you have any final questions for our wonderful guests, now's the time to put them in. We're on a little bit of a delay.
I just have the one thing that I wanted to bring up, because it actually took me until our second watch for this to kind of sink in. Airedale bringing up the moment with Washington and him going out with the shovel and digging when everyone else was terrified. And like the first time it didn't really register, and then the second time it was, that's
Washington going out and digging trenches.
And it's one of those scenes where it's just like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that's inspired by a real moment in history where Washington, they were taking fire, and Washington went out and started digging a trench himself. And the rest of the army was so blown away by his courage doing that they joined in with him. So Washington was an amazing general.
In some ways, I'm surprised to hear that, and in other ways, I'm not surprised at all.
I feel like to participate in this war, you kind of have to be a little crazy. Just given everything that we've seen.
Well, there are reasons why the man became a legend in our country, and that, again, it makes a lot of sense. So yes, again, LaToya cannot say thank you enough for taking the time to call in. Do you have any final thoughts on how it's been kind of, going through everything this seeing and just seeing the way fans have been reacting to the season so far?
I just love all of the fans. You guys have been so supportive. My revolutionaries, I've been following you guys on Twitter and here on AfterBuzz. You've been incredible. We love the support. that you guys have given us. I can't say enough about, like, there's people like drawing pictures and doing art, and then I love the deep discussions that people get into, people who love Anlit, people who love, you know, Simcoe, but they want to kill him. It's just been great, like, seeing everyone's reaction. And I can't say enough about how great this podcast really is. You guys do an incredible job. You ask awesome questions. You're prepared. It's lovely to see all the hard work that we put into the show be appreciated so much. So I can't say enough.
I'm just going to point to Megan for that one, because Megan is the one that has kept this going, even and especially on nights when she was the sole host for like half a season. This podcast wouldn't be here without you keeping it alive.
No. Well, honestly, there are very few shows I would soldier through alone for, but Turn has. Of course, I'm going to sit here, and even if I have to talk about it myself, I will talk about it myself, because we have the wonderful live chat to always keep us company, too.
This is true.
But no.
Well, we love you for that. I so appreciate it. I can't say it enough. It's been great.
Well,
thank you for the show.
We can't say thank you enough. Not only have you put on an amazing show, but as a fan, to have a co-executive producer and writer of this thing that we love take time out of her day to regularly comment in our chat and tweet at us and things like that. That is something that I don't know if a lot of the Turn fans will get this reference, but it's like, Senpai noticed us.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Master has given Tommy a sock.
So yeah, and we.
Well, I wouldn't do it if you guys weren't so good. Trust me, you guys are fantastic.
Well, again, thank you so much. And we have a lot of people thanking you in the live chat as well. Thank you for all the hard work that you've done. And yeah, we can't wait to see how everything wraps up this season.
Yeah.
Well, I can't leave without giving a shout out to, my writer's room, our writer's room. It starts at the top with Craig, my boss, all the other writers. We wouldn't be here without him. So this is all a tribute to his vision, and we were just there, holding it up. So hopefully everyone really enjoys the finale, because I'm telling you, you're going to need some Kleenex. It's a good one.
I have a feeling.
Like, we don't sit there and cry anyway. Come on.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of yelling and a lot of crying next week. But in the meantime, do you have any other projects going on that you can tell people about that fans of Turn and just your work in general should keep an eye out for?
Sure. You can watch my work on season 2 of Into the Badlands. I'm one of the writers on that show as well, which is also on AMC. And I have a new comic book that I'm writing for Zenescope called Robin Hood. It's a new 6-issue series. People can pick that up on the Zenescope site or on Comixology.
All right.
That's going to be really exciting. Because if I'm not mistaken, you also wrote Turn Origins, correct?
I did. I'm a big comic book fan. So anytime people want me to write comic books, I generally say yes.
That's super exciting. Well, again, congratulations on a fabulous season. Where can people go if they want to keep up with you?
On Twitter, I am Morganic Inc., MorganiCink, and also on Instagram, same handle.
Well, again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye, Revolutionaries.
Bye. Oh. Senpai noticed us.
Oh, and Turnland in the chat says, "Can you teach us how to say goodbye?"
Yeah, I was going to read that out, but my voice got caught in my throat. It's fine. I'm not crying. You're crying. Shut up. Well, anyway,
Oh, I'm
guys,
crying. I've been crying for a while.
There's just something in my eye. Tears.
It's raining in the studio?
But anyway, guys, thank you guys all so much for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, please go to iTunes to rate, subscribe, leave a comment.
Remember that those take a couple of days to post, so if you want us to be able to read them for the finale, make sure you post them by, like, Sunday?
Yes, please
At the
do.
latest.
In the meantime, Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can follow me all over the social medias and on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. My Tuesday night show is continuing, and that's Robots in Disguise. That's usually the show before this one. And Monday nights, we are doing the current season of Voltron, so tune in for that. That is super fun. I am also on Gather Your Party on Geek and Sundry's Twitch on Friday nights at 9:30 p.m. That is super fun, and we do all sorts of crazy stuff. You should totally tune in.
I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I also do a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2Ks. Be sure to check those out. Be sure to also check out The Shadow of Radiation, where I do the voice of Margot Lane. And also, I have an upcoming podcast where I do a lot of narration called Apparitions. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. So thank you guys so much to everybody in the live chat, everybody in the hashtag. You guys rock! And we will be here next week for the finale. We will see you then.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Hashtag Justice for Bucephalus.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.